Whenever you're ready.
Okay, I can start up. Oh, I'm really sleepy today. I've been up since 4:11 this morning, and so I am sleepy. But now that I talk about being sleepy, I'd like to make my speech about sleep. Now, sleep is one of those things that everybody needs. Now, if I were to take a poll of everybody in the room and ask, what does everybody need? People would probably say food, water, maybe clothing, maybe shelter. But more than likely, sleep won't come up. But nevertheless, it is something that every human being on the planet needs. And one of the bad things about sleep is that here in America, we're getting less and less of it. Now, if you remember back to elementary school, Francine will, I'm sure, remember this was because this was her first time learning this lesson, that you need 8 to 10 hours worth of sleep. Now we know that it's not that set in stone because every individual is different. But most of the experts agree that if you go less than 6 hours sleep, you are really harming yourself. The survey says that most Americans don't get 6 hours, that many Americans don't get 6 hours of sleep. In fact, in 1990, 24% of the population reported that they sleep 6 hours or less. That increased by 2010 to 30% of the population. So there are many people out there not getting enough sleep, and sometimes it's in very critical industries. For instance, in mining. If there's an accident in mining, it's all over the news how the mine explodes because somebody did something wrong. And sometimes those mistakes are caused by sleep deprivation. Let me give you some examples. If you remember, in 2004, there was an Air India jet. And I love it when there's a plane crash, if you actually get the paper and read the transcripts. Some of them are really revealing. But in this particular case with the Air India jet, it was a 737. The pilot, when it was time to land, woke up because he'd been asleep. And on the tape, the co-pilot was saying, pull up, pull up. And the pilot was just going straight on, missed the runway. 166 people died, only 8 people lived. Now, it's very interesting that the pilot has just woke up from his nap, which indicated a certain sleep deprivation. Also, you remember the pilot that was running through the plane shouting bomb? The media reported he just went crazy, he had a meltdown. You remember that one? There again, one thing the media didn't actually report, one thing that they didn't dwell on, as this guy had been awake for 3 days. He had been going to counseling and stuff. It was reported in the media, but they didn't report that he had been having sleep problems for months, and he was he was actually sleep deprived when all this happened. In other words, it does sound like he was in a dream world, doesn't it? He was sleep deprived. Now, there are a lot of reasons for why we've changed over the years. Now, if we go back over 100 years ago, people normally went to bed a little bit after the sun went down, got up a little bit before the sun came up. I get up a long time before the sun comes up at 4:11. But there was more rest and our ancestors had much more rest than we do now, good rest. And there was also an interesting fact in researching this, that they actually had 2 sleep sessions. A first sleep that started around sunset, that went to midnight. They got up for about an hour, doodled around, went to the bathroom, all that kind of thing, prayed, a lot of different things in that hour, then went back to bed and slept to sunrise. That's a big difference from what we have today. It's totally unheard of today for someone to do that. But throughout human history, that's the way we have been sleeping. Now, what that does Sleep allows your body to rejuvenate. Recent studies have shown that lack of sleep will actually increase the chances of certain cancers. It increases the chances of stroke. It increases various diseases because the cells, the body is not rejuvenating at a cellular level. Now, one of the reasons for such a big change is the street lights. We can have lights, TV, anytime. Another thing in our more recent life is that we've got all of these devices, the radio, the phones, all of these devices are emitting light, which really disturbs our sleep. And sleep is one of the most important things that we can get to make sure we're healthy. Now, and it was interesting, an interesting story, that during the 1994 earthquake in Los Angeles, all of the lights were out. Everywhere around Los Angeles, it was dark. And people had not seen the sky, the Milky Way galaxy. So they looked up into the sky, and the authorities were getting reports that there was some kind of gas cloud over the city. And that's because people had not actually seen true darkness. And that's one thing that we've gotten away from. Now, a long time ago, one of these wise men, that folks quote all the time, his name is Heraclitus. I want to ask you to say that with me, but he was a great thinker and everything 2,500 years ago, and he threw out something that was very ineluctable. He said that even a soul submerged in sleep is hard at work and helps make something of the world. And after I leave here tonight, I'm going to be working hard asleep.